So my name is Marion O'Dwyer, and I've been connected to Universal Education and FDCW for many years. And it's a real pleasure to be here today to introduce some wonderful folks who are going to speak about universal education in schools. They're all people I have known, met at courses in different parts of the world. And I'm really, really pleased that FDCW invited me to host them here so that I can connect and listen to their updated stories. Yeah. So what we're doing today, universal education in schools, what is that going to mean in terms of the focus that we'd like to bring to it? We're going to be exploring how compassion and understanding can build a stronger foundation for children to learn, grow, and flourish in the school setting. Yeah. So that's the specific focus, is that we're talking in the school setting. So with that said, I'm going to go to our first speaker today and just have a short introduction to her. Maria Luisa Constantino has been working in a social cooperative with disadvantaged children since 1990. She first worked as a professional educator and then as a clinical pedagogist. She shares in her presentation how she's introduced the 16 guidelines and mindfulness into schools in Italy, and how the parents and teachers have embraced these practices. So now I'm going to invite Maria Luisa to take the floor. Hola, Maria Luisa, good day. And over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, now it's okay. Okay. Good evening to everybody. I'm Maria Luisa Constantino. I'm very happy to be with you this night because I want to share my experience with the 16 guideline and the path that I had in these 15 years of practice. I met the 16 guideline. I met Marianne 15 years ago. And I had a feeling and a perception that this method, from my point of view, is an education method that was very, very powerful. So for this, I'm trying to make everything that this method could be part of my work and my life. So, as Mariam said, I work for a cooperative, a social cooperative in a psychopedagogic center, and I am in charge of the formation of the teachers, and then we have about 100 educator professional, and then they work with children and also teenagers that they have problems. And the first thing that we have decided to do, myself and my colleague, is that we try to do this part of the 16 guideline to all the educators. And now she's blocked. Because we thought that we work with this child, that they had a lot of disadvantages with cognitive, social, in the family. And so, but we also saw that the approach of the 16 guidelines could be of great help for all of them. So more than 10 years ago, we did together with Marian the first course with the 16 guideline with our educator. And since then, our cooperative is using this method. We like to say education to happiness, because we are supporting that the children, the teenager of all age, not like the adults, they need only few things to be happy. Them, differently than the adults, they live the present moment, and so they have more difficulties in to remember the past and to think about the future. So they've already a natural predisposition to be more in the present moment, particularly the children, particularly the little children. So we thought that this is a great potential that we could develop with them and together with them. So in this way, we can bring about this methodology that is the pedagogy of happiness, where our educators are committed to try to understand what are the needs and the wish of these children, that sometimes are needs that are very simple, sometimes be children that maybe they have lived not a very positive experience, but they experience a lot of negative experience. And so now and so we have started actually from this principle that they need only simple to experience some positive situation where they can think well-being. So, and then we saw that this was changing completely their approach to the situations. And so we have started to work also with the teachers, because actually, as Israel Lama, we believe very much that education can be the origin, the source of changing. And so we have the possibility to stay with our children, teaching to our children a different approach to life, and to create really a generation, different generation that is more attentive, more aware, more, yeah, that has more mindfulness. So we have to propose this 16 guideline as formation for them. It's kind of training for the teacher in the high school and also in the high school. So we saw the power of this methodology, and by having doing this path with inspiration of the 16 days. And so the four aspects of wisdom, and also together with the teacher, we could see also the attitude that could be of supporting and to be of help in their work and in teaching in the school. And so we also saw we had many results, good results, because the teacher at the beginning they have a little bit difficulty to actually put themselves in the game, but because they have a lot of instruments, but they have difficulties in really using for themselves. And so, but slowly, with little step, and we were able to make them to experience themselves this instrument, this method that are very powerful. And then it is only when you experience them, then you can actually to share to the kids and to the students. And so slowly, because at the beginning, the teachers, they have a lot of resistance, and so they perceive this, need to look within themselves. And so they understand the need of understanding what they are bringing about in the class, not only what they are teaching, but also their way of being. The teachers, they are the example for the student. And so a teacher that applies in his own life the 16 guideline brings about a good example that is very important for the student. And so the student, they will remember the teacher for the way how they relate to them, not about the subject they are teaching. So we have worked in this way, and in the first year like this, and then the second year, the teacher themselves, they say they want to have this formation, this training, in order to be able to share better with the kids. And so this was a great satisfaction for us, because in a way, this who's experience the 16 guidelines understand the need that has to be within ourselves, and then we need to look within ourselves. We need to connect with ourselves in order to be able to express the best of ourselves. So then we also started also to have different paths. Also, we try to experiment this in the university in Brescia, and we started to bring this 16 guideline also in the university. Since 2 years, we have a path that is inspired by the 16 guidelines. There should have been of 16 hours, but then the student that they enrolled were so many that we decided two mini path for 50 students each, and 50 students that are enrolled in this. 50 people that they will become teachers and also professional education. So this I had a great satisfaction because the student and they really put themselves into the game in the approaching the 16 guideline in their life, and then they talk a lot in with the other colleague in university, and so the 16 guideline, particularly in the University of Verona, they are very known, very well known. And there is a student also that want to do the actual thesis, or dissertation in university on the 16 guideline. And I think these are all seeds that actually can help to change the way how to teach and so forth, and to and so for this, I'm really satisfied with this. And within the school where we actually put the 16 guideline, we have known that the head of the school has changed completely the attitude in the school. That is very important because when the kids had kind of behavior that were not proper, then they were put at home, and this was the as a punishment, that was the because of the action that I did. But since last year, this kind of doing is not done. It changes. So when a person, when a student has a behavior that is not good, they said that has to come to the school. It doesn't go in the school with the others, but it stays in the office of the head of the school, and reads all the four the themes of wisdom, and I try to identify an attitude that should have been something helping for him or her in that situation, and try to deepen that in that person by reading the description of this. At the end of the day, as the possibility with the head of the school to actually confront him or herself, how actually they could have been better, could have been a different action, which kind of attitude they could have. And so I think this is a very nice thing, that from the punishment who is being sent at home because was not good behavior, instead to talk together and try to see how you could have acted in a different way. So this the positive potential that was not able to use it, so but it is within yourself, but you can use it in the next situation. So I think this is a really great success, and is a little change, but I think this gives us really how the things that can change in a better way, more fruitful way. And this year we had the possibility of having some financial support from the Buddhist Union of Italy, that gave some as help to translate a book from English into Italian, and we are translating, and also according to the different experience that we have had in this year. And the book will be published, and the launch will be the 16th of December. And from January, with this support from Buddhist Union, we will have the possibility to go into 20 schools and to have these 20 paths that are inspired by 16 guidelines, and different meetings of 4 hours, and the student of the primary school and the secondary school. And so from student from the 6 years old to the 14 years old. So these are little seeds that we are bringing about, So we have decided that the main thing of the work has to be done by the teachers that they are in the school every day with the children. And so also in this project that is financed by Buddhist Union, we are going to do all formation to all the 20 schools that will have this path into the class. So I think in Italy, together with Sabrina, Many Maria, that gave us the support and then always supported us. We have been able to put to seed many different seeds to plant different seeds and so also to have very simple result, but this makes us really really happy and gives us the strength and the wish to continue on this path, because this is actually the good way of acting, the good way how to put into practice these 16 guidelines. So now I have to do some kind of experience of meditation, one of the technique that we are using with the kids. So I thought that mainly for the teenager mainly, but also the kids, but mainly teenager, they have incredible benefit from visualization. We know that visualizing is uh, is really important. It means to live the experience, so to make the kids, also to the people that are living a situation that are kind of not well, and so forth, through the visualization of well-being and so forth, that they can go on within their memory every time they want. I think this is a pickle seed that we can actually bring about great change. So with the kids and the teenager, we use a lot of visualization. We use the meditation with when they sit on the floor and then they follow our voice and they imagine the things that we are telling them. So tonight I was thinking to do a visualization. You can also do it if you like, and that is called the inner garden, that help us to look within ourselves and then to see the flowers and the thing of light that we do have within ourselves. We can start. Are you ready? So if you don't, try to take a uh, comfortable position. The most important is that your spine is straight. We can stay sitting or lying down. The most important thing is that you are feeling comfortable, that our spine is straight. If you can close your eyes and try to imagine what I'm telling you now. First of all, you try to relax, let go all the thoughts, and we try to concentrate on our breath. We feel the air that enters and goes out from our body in a natural way without forcing it. We let go the flowing of the breath. Imagine that the air enters within our nose, within the nostrils. If we can able, we try to bring the air all the way to the to the belly. Then imagine that within our belly is like a vortex that takes absorb all the tension, all the thoughts. And then when we breathe out, we just throw them out through the nose, through the nostrils, and imagine that they dissolve completely into the room. If there is some thoughts comes, we just we just let go and try to bring our attention to the breath. Now we can imagine that we are on the top of a stair, of a ladder. The first thing that comes into our mind is the right one. The one that comes in our mind is the right one for us. Imagine that you are going down very slowly, step by step. Then you arrive in front of a big gate. The gate is closed, but there is a key there, just there. We take the key and we open the gate and we go through by closing the gate behind us. We are in a big garden, a garden that is full of light. We feel the sun on our shoulder. We feel the heat of the sun that gives us warmth and gives us warm all over our body. And we try to explore this garden. Quite slowly, we look around. We observe with our eyes, but also we are using all our other senses. So we experience the perfume of the flowers. We perceive the sensation, the feelings on our skin. We can hear all the different sounds of this place. At this point, we try to look for a place that we think that is our place. A corner of this garden that is attracting us. And we try to stay in that corner. Try to perceive the feelings that we have. And try to be aware of the feeling that we have in this place. We can actually look around and slowly, we prepare ourselves to leave this garden. With the awareness that we can go back in this place every time we want. So slowly, slowly, we go back to the gate from where we come in. We go through the gate. Then we close the gate again. We put back the key from where we found it. And then slowly, step by step, we go up the stairs. We go up to the stairs, up to the top of the ladder that brought us here. Very slowly, without rush. Step by step, that we arrive to the point from where we started. At this point, we just let go all the images that were being created in our mind, and then we bring back the attention to our breath. The air that is entering and going out, that is flowing naturally in our body. And when you feel ready, slowly you can open your eyes and get in contact again to the place where you are. With the children and the teenager, when we do this visualization, we ask them to draw what they have seen before they are talking about this, in order to remain always with the images that they have created or they have seen in the visualization. And I tell you, they have the ability of to look within themselves very deeply, and they are able to share what they have seen in a very, very simple way, and very simple and deep way, to as they are able to do it. And often they are able to use again these positive images, and sometimes they are saying to the educator, now I need to go in my garden. And so this is a very important instrument, that a method that they have, that is very simple, that they can use again and again anytime they need it, anytime they feel the need of that. I think I finished. I started to say within 30 minutes, more or less. I managed to be in 30 minutes. So I thank you very much for all the attention. And I'm sorry that I speak Italian and I cannot speak English. This probably has created some problems. So I thank you very much. Thank you, the translator, that I translated, and to give this possibility. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody.
I have to say it's been quite inspiring and amazing to listen to the seeds that we planted so long ago, not really blossoming in that garden and flowering. I mean, sometimes I guess I do the courses, but I don't really realize what happens after I leave, and you continue, and you have done such amazing work. And I love the story of the headmaster. And I'm sure other people were really encouraged to hear that he learnt a different way of thinking, of acting and relating to others, and hopefully found a different meaning in being the headmaster. So thank you so much for your time, Maria Luisa. And I'm sure everyone's really enjoyed it. And the short meditation was fantastic. Many people with children may want to try that. I'm certainly going to go back to my garden now and then.
Thank you so much to you, Mariam. Thank you.
It's wonderful to connect and catch up on all the wonderful things you've been doing, Maria Luisa. So thank you. And I know you can't stay for the question and answer, and anyway, it might get complicated. But I think if anyone has questions for you, we can pass them along to you, and that would work too, because what you're doing is most inspiring to us all, and you've accomplished so much. Thank you. Thanks, dear. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Liliana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks to everybody. Yes, and thanks, of course, to Venerable, who translated so wonderfully so that we could all connect with Maria Luisa. So now, ciao, ciao. See you. We'll be in touch. Bye. So, how wonderful to have so many fantastic examples of the way that the 16 Guidelines has touched communities and inspired people to work with it. And another person who has been working in another part of the world is Adriana Stern, who's our next speaker. She has been working in education since the year 2000, but from 2014 until now, she's worked exclusively on programs dedicated to meditation and compassion practices. In this talk, Adriana will share with us how she introduced the 7 steps for developing knowledge, strength, and compassion, which come from the Creating Compassionate Culture program, inspired by universal education. This she implemented in Mexico. I know that Adriana has other aspects of work that we might be interested in, but let's see what she has to say first. I wanted to now add that our next 2 speakers will be present for a discussion at the end where we can take your questions. So in the meantime, as you listen, or if you feel inspired to ask a question, please put it in the chat and we'll see what we can do to bring it up at the end of these next 2 sessions. So Adriana, without more ado, welcome from Mexico, and it's your turn. Over to you, my dear.
Thank you so much. I am a bit nervous about this. I haven't spoken in English in a while, so I hope I'll do well. That was very inspiring. I want to go back to 16 Guidelines as well. Now I'm working with the 7 steps, but I want to do everything. Well, I've been a teacher since the year 2000, and what I enjoyed the most about teaching was being there with the students, being present and listening to them and seeing how they developed. At the beginning, I was teaching adults, but soon I changed to primary school, and I loved being with children and getting to know them and getting to see how they developed every day. And as soon as I heard about the 16 Guidelines through the meditation group I was in, I said, I want to do this. I want to know more about this. And I want to take it to my kids at school. So I took the 16 Guidelines programs. I'm still not, I haven't done the final step, which is like giving a 16 Guideline course. So that's why I'm not teaching it as much. But I definitely put it into practice with the kids. But then very soon after the 16 Guideline programs, I got to to hear about the Pam's program, you know, the 7 steps. And she came and she gave us the weekend course, and I went there, and it was amazing. I also felt very, very inspired, and I thought, this is what I want to do again. So I want to do everything. And I started with some friends from a meditation group, Ana Salvador, which I thought was here, but I don't know if he's still here. But Ana, Salvador, and Brenda. So we came together and we decided we have to do something with this, with everything we've learning. The first thing we did was like a summer course. It was the 16 guidelines. We had like 60 students, 60 kids, and it was a mess, I guess, but it was a beautiful mess because it was the first time we were doing it. And I think Fernando, who's here, was there for a day too. So I'm talking about all this because I love one of the concepts in Pam's course is interconnection, and I love it. So I love to see like all the things that have come together so I can be here today with you. So after that course and after the Pam's course, Ana, Salvador, Brenda, and I decided we wanted to keep on going. And we met the principal of a Montessori school, Ana also. Well, my mom already knew her. Brenda knew somebody who knew her, and somebody else knew her. So it was like everything was leading us to that school. So when we went there and we presented the program to her, she was very happy. She wanted it there. And the first thing we did like an extra school kind of course for a little while. Many kids registered, and it was amazing. We were going there like once or twice a week. I can't remember very well. And it was amazing. And after that, we started planning how we could introduce it in every day at school, because the kids really liked it. The principal of the school really liked it. So the opportunity came up in which they needed an English teacher, and I was an English teacher. So we decided to combine both things. So I would be teaching English and teaching the program as well, with the help of Brenda, Ana, and well, at that moment, I think it was Brenda and Ana because Salvador had a lot of work. So we started planning, and at the beginning, we had a session a week, like 1 hour with the kids. But something we said, and it relates to what Maria Luisa was saying, we said always was important that the teachers had to know about it, and the teacher had to be involved. Because if we were going to be there only for an hour a week, what was going to happen the rest of the week? So it was really important for us, for the teachers to be part of it. So we managed to convince them to meet with us once a week for an hour or two, just with a teacher, to talk about the program and to talk about what we were doing and how they could do it. Also, how they could start doing the little rituals that the program has, like the meditation in the morning or the circle to set the intention and all of those things. And at the beginning, some of the teachers were like, no, please, I don't need extra work, you know, I don't want to do anything else. I already do so many things. And especially one I remember, Soko, and she was like, oh, okay, I'll do it, because she's very diligent, and okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it every week, every day, and everything. So, and also at the monthly teachers meetings, we would work with them together as a group. And little by little, they started seeing how beautiful and how amazing it was, and how the kids were absorbing everything and how they liked it. And this teacher, Soko, who didn't want to be part of the program, but was very diligent and said, I'm going to do everything you said I have to do. After just a few months, she came to me and said, this is amazing. I love it. I'm so happy that we're doing this. You know, all the problems that we had with the kids in the class, they are solving them themselves. They understand their part in the class and how they can do so much for our classroom to be the classroom we all want to have. So this is amazing. And that moment was like, okay, we're doing right, we're doing something good here. So we kept on doing. After a while, Anna and Brenda, I think after one course they couldn't continue, so I continued there myself. And it was just every day working with the kids. I was teaching English, but I was also doing this every single day with them, and just working with the teachers and seeing how the things we do and the things we say really matter. You know, sometimes for me, it was just little things that I thought nobody was listening. And then one kid would say, oh, no, but remember, we talked about this and this is important and we have to do this. And it was like, oh, okay, so this connects with them, you know, this makes sense for them. And we kept going, and I kept going for about, I think we were there, well, in total, it was for about 5 years. Because, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this, something that was also very important for us and that we talked to the principal about is that this is a long-term thing. It's not going to happen in a day. You know, transformation is not something that just happens after one talk. The seed is there, but we need to, you know, we need to water it and we need to keep on working on it. And we'll see something, we'll see the result in a few years now. And we did see results. Something that was really, really nice also was that some parents were coming to us, telling us, I need you to explain this to me a bit more because my kids are talking about the peace corner and that we need to sit down and solve our conflicts in a different way, but I don't understand what they're saying exactly. So we need you to tell us what we have to do because we want to do this at home. And many kids at home set their peace corner, which is like a place where you can go and talk about conflicts we have some steps, you know, the 5 R's in which you first breathe and remember what happened and remember what you really want, which is to be happy just like everybody else. And then you talk from your heart and the other person listens, and then you exchange that and the other person speaks from their heart and you listen and you come to a solution together. So they were doing that at home, which was amazing. They were like sitting the moms and dads down at the table. Okay, let's talk about our conflict, you know. And this is from kindergarten, 3-4-year-olds to elementary school here is up to 12-year-olds. So they were doing it, and that was amazing that it was not just staying there at school, but they could really see how it helped them and how they can take that to their houses, to their homes. It also happened in the first 16 guideline course, in this very chaotic course that we had. It was amazing. At the end of the course, I remember one mother came to me and said, so now I have to be patient, right? Because my kid keeps on telling me, be patient, be patient. So that was something really amazing and inspiring for me. And even now, I haven't been at the Montessori for about 3 years since the pandemic and everything changed. But even now, sometimes I see moms from the students who were there. Just like a couple of months ago, I met a mom and she was like, oh yeah, I remember, we still do the hard thing and we still do this and that. So it's amazing how, like Marianne was saying, like these little seeds that we are planting and we don't know where they're going. Then you meet them again and you see that they are growing. That for me is very, very inspiring. And also for this talk, I asked a teacher because that's my perspective, you know, my side of the story. But I asked the teacher from Montessori if she could tell me like how her experience had been through this time. And she sent to me a message and she said how the kids who have participated in this experience these years had the opportunity to deepen in their knowing of themselves, and they're conscious of being aware of themselves, their emotions, and that they learn tools for conflict resolutions that they will remember, throughout their lives, and it's going to be helpful for them. And also the idea of a mandala, we worked a lot with the idea of a mandala, all of us being part of a mandala, interconnection, and how that helped them so much to feel part of the classroom, not to feel alone or not to feel left behind, because we were all together in that. So that helped them a lot to be part of a community, integration, socialization, and also to integrate kids who otherwise would have been left behind, because some of them had anger issues, some of them had difficulties relating to others, but throughout compassion and empathy, they learned they also wanted to be happy, and they wanted to integrate them and to invite them all the time to participate. So that was something really nice. And also, to realize that they could change with their attitude, the words, the thoughts. They could change the place in which they are. So they could take that to the world as well. Like they can feel they have the power to make the world a better world. So I want to cry. Sorry. So that was really, really inspiring and really, really nice about this program. And also when the pandemic started and we had to be isolated, some of the teachers wrote to me and said, thank you for everything you shared with us, because it's really helping right now in this time when we are having all these changes, because one of the steps is everything's changing all the time. So we talked about change a lot, and how it's good that things are changing, because it allows things to happen. If there weren't any changes, we wouldn't be alive, basically. So they talked about that and said, thank you for everything you share. We remember everything, and we try to keep working with it. I'm sorry I'm not as structured, but it's just very exciting to share this experience with you all. And well, that was the experience at Colomba. And also I was thinking about talking, when we talked with Marian a few months ago, about which challenges I've encountered when trying to introduce this to schools. And I think this school was, like I said at the beginning, everything was pointing at it. They were telling us to go there, and the principal was very open, and the teachers that after a while were very open to it, and they wanted to learn more, and they were interested in everything we talked about. But in other schools where I've tried to talk about this, one of the challenges is principals and teachers say, oh, we already do that. We know about those things. We already talk about emotions. We already talk about being a good person. And sometimes they don't want extra work. What they feel is extra work. So trying to show them that this is no extra work, on contrary, the opposite. It's going to make things easier and nicer for everybody. That is one of the challenges we have here in Mexico, at least, where teachers are, I understand, because teachers are always bombarded with a lot of work, and now you have to do this, and now you have to plan this way, and now you have to do this other thing. So I don't know, presenting this in a way that it really convinces them or shows them that this is going to make things easier for everybody. That is one of our challenges here. Of course, every time I meet somebody who's in education, I talk about this, and I say, you should try this. I can talk to you more about this, because it's amazing, and I'm sure you can enjoy this. And I don't want to be over time. So at the moment, I stopped working with Montessori a few years ago, but at the same time, I started working at universities. And at universities, I was doing 16 guidelines, a bit more, because I had 16 sessions. The semester is usually 16 weeks. So I do 16 guidelines, just an introduction and talking to the students about that. And it's been really nice as well. At the moment, I'm working at a university, and well, I'm working with meditation mainly, but also talking about 16 guidelines and a bit of the steps. And then I try to tell them about everything I know and I've learned. So, well, I think that's my experience, and it's time for a practice, if that's okay. Yep. So I wasn't sure what to do, because I'm sure you all do many practices and I'm very expert on these things. But one of the practices we used to do with the kids at Montessori related to the 7 colors which are used in the 7 steps program. And each color relates to one of the qualities that we can develop as an antidote for certain attitudes that are difficult for us in life. So it's white for patience, blue for compassion, green for rejoice, orange for forgiveness, yellow for respect, purple for courage, and red for generosity. So we're going to do the practice of the 7 colors, and it's a bit of interconnection as well. I hope you enjoy it. It's a visualization as well, so let's begin. So if you could close your eyes and sit comfortably with a straight back. And for a moment, just feel your breath. And feel your body. And relax as you exhale. And now we are going to do a visualization of the 7 colors, the 7 qualities that we all already have in us and are developing every day. So for a moment, as we breathe in, we are going to imagine that the air we are inhaling is white. It's white as patience. So we are inhaling patience as the color white. And as we inhale, we can see that the whole body is white, is full with patience, because we are patient. We have that quality within us. And when we exhale, we share that quality with others. The air we exhale is white as well. And now the air with inhale turns to yellow. Respect. And we can see how our whole body is yellow. It's full with respect. And when we exhale, we share respect with others. And then the air turns into orange. Forgiveness. And our whole body is orange with forgiveness. And when we exhale, we share forgiveness with others. And the air turns red. Generosity. We inhale generosity. And our whole body is red. And when we exhale, we share generosity with others. And the air turns green. Rejoice. We inhale, rejoice. And our whole body is green. And when we exhale, we share rejoice with others. And the air turns blue. Compassion. We inhale compassion. Our body is blue. And when we exhale, we share compassion. And the air turns purple with courage. We inhale courage. And my whole body is purple. And when I exhale, I share courage with the world, with everyone around. And I can feel the rainbow within me, all the qualities. We all have these qualities. And I can share them with the world, with my actions, with my thoughts, with my words. And I can choose one to practice today, especially practice it today. So I set my intention. I will practice this quality today in my thoughts, in my words, in my actions. And keep breathing for a little while. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adriana. You know, I think we met many, many years ago when you came to those courses, and I really feel like you have blossomed into this amazing role model for universal education. Your enthusiasm and your dedication is really contagious. And I'm sure that many of the teachers that you've connected to have picked up on that and, you know, so benefited from it. So thank you. I think we were
Thank
very
you.
inspired by your connection to us all. So, but and you can stay around, right? You'll be able
Yes.
to. So if anyone has any questions for Adriana or comments, even feel free to put them in the chat. So we've been sitting for an hour, or at least I have. But you're always welcome to stretch while you're sitting, you know. But if you'd like to grab some water or take a little bit of time to move around, please feel free to do that before Lizzy comes on to have a chat with us. Yeah. That was really so interesting, Adriana. It's just so wonderful to catch up and hear from you and see how you're really motivated to move forward with all the different ways that universal education can be used.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You were a big part of this. Thank you.
I remember you now translating for me, and you were quite young, and you know. I don't think you had children then. Now you have two.
Yes, a long time ago.
Yes, but you see, the seeds have got watered and flowered, and we're both still here to talk about it.
Yes.
Good. So thank you, and hopefully we'll hear from you again during the discussion, the question and answers towards the end. Yeah, and thank you everybody for being here today. I know everyone has. We all have lives that have a lot of demands, put a lot of demands on us. So it's really great that you're all here. And those who couldn't come here will have access to these recordings. So hopefully that will really touch lots of people. So our third presenter is Lizzy Lewis. Lizzy's in the UK. And I think, like Adriana, Lizzy has been inspired by lots of different fantastic topics and subjects that she's worked with. Amongst other things, she has worked with global education. She's in her teaching profession, mindfulness, and a values-based education. She's currently working in a secondary school with a program which is entitled Learning for Life, of which she is a coordinator. I'm really, really happy that Lizzy is going to talk about some practical examples of how she brings the principles of universal education to life while she's working with teenagers in England. So without any more ado, Lizzy, I'm going to welcome you to share with us what you have to
Great.
share. Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you very, very much, Marianne. And thank you to everyone for being here and for this opportunity, which has really made me kind of reflect on what I do and why I do it, which is usually a good thing. So hopefully I can build on the wonderful presentations by Maria Luisa and Adriana. And I certainly recognized a few kind of common themes, which maybe we can pick up when we have the question and answer. So I'm going to cover some ideas about 16 guidelines and pedagogy, how I've integrated them into this program, some of the challenges, and it's still quite early days. I'm quite new to this endeavor and this journey. So forgive me if I think some of my ideas are quite simple. They'll probably be probably things that you're already very familiar with, but I'll do my best to try and make bring things together. So yeah, the first thing to do, just to reference, is that what I had a real wonderful sense of joy when I came across the 16 guidelines, because they really synthesized from so many influences on me over many years as a teacher, particularly also philosophy for children, values-based education, oracy, mindfulness, restorative practice. And I'd like to credit all the incredible colleagues, particularly Wendy Ridley, who I met many, many years ago, colleagues and children who I've learned from along the way, and I'm still learning. So so the 16 guidelines, I've been reflecting on how they particularly affect my pedagogy, how I approach teaching. I'll start with that with some examples. So in terms of a sort of compassionate pedagogy, I always often think to myself, and I'll say to people, the child is at the heart and the center of all my judgments. So what is best for the child is the guiding principle. And in a practical way, and this may sound, I mean, it's very, very simple, but it works for me. I start to think about the children on my journey into school. So I start to try and bring them into mind. I think about the class. I think about all the children, think about our last lesson together, what has been going on in their lives, what they've been going through this week. I think of it as a tuning in. I'm tuning into those children as a group and thinking about them. So when I arrive into the classroom, they're kind of already very much in my mind. And I may have remembered, oh yes, so-and-so had an important music thing, or I don't know. So it helps me to kind of, like I said, be present with them. Another core principle for me is that I will call it a co-inquirer. That means I'm learning with and alongside the children. And I very much kind of expect to learn from them as much. And I certainly know that I don't know everything, and that for me, learning is part of teaching, and that I find very exciting and motivating. Another principle is I want to give the children time and space, particularly to think and to talk and to ask questions. And I want them to have more airtime than me. So for me, that's an indicative of a good lesson, is when they've had more kind of airtime. Another principle for me is honesty. So I'm honest with them if I don't know something. And if I make a mistake, and I apologize to them, and I will, I'm just very, very open. Patience is also essential. I think all teachers, you just have to be try and practice patience, particularly with teenagers who do like to, well, they don't like to, but they do test our patience at times. And back to this idea of time and space, I feel that certainly the lessons that we have are a contrast to the norm. And unfortunately, I think many schools, I don't know if I'm guessing it's true also in other countries, unfortunately, are usually too busy, stressful. Sometimes things are very rushed. There's this idea in a lesson, we've got to get from A to B, and we've got to get this done, and da, da, da. So I like to think of our lessons as a complete contrast to that. So it's much slower pace. We don't have to get certain things done. And I think they really appreciate that. Couple more things. I assume the best in the children, and I tell them so. I'm very explicit. I'm always telling them the why of what we're doing. This is what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I tell them, the expression we have in English is benefit of the doubt. I will always assume the very best in you. I try to be as present and attentive as I can, which I think requires a degree of self-compassion, in that, to be fully present for them as much as I can, I need to be kind of in good form myself. And that's also part of my sort of preparation. Like I said, on my journey into the school, I'm sort of trying to get into the zone, into my best possible zone. A couple more things. Flexibility, again, tuning into the children. I feel I have to respond sometimes to their mood. And I always take time. We always start with mindfulness, but I also try and tune into them and what's going on. Sometimes they might need a bit of lifting up. Sometimes they might need calming down. But so I definitely open to being responsive to kind of how they're feeling in terms of how I might adapt a lesson. And I think all of this leads to a sense of contentment. Like Adriana, I'm very fortunate and very grateful that I absolutely love my job. So most lessons I feel a sense of joy. I love seeing them opening up their minds, making connections, just discovering things, connecting with each other, but also figuring out really difficult stuff too. And some of the lessons are very, very challenging. So I'm now going to move on now to this program and this example that I've of Learning for Life. So I work in a co-educational boarding school, which is very unusual. We have over 80% of the students are funded on bursaries. So it's a very diverse population from a really wide variety of backgrounds. So this program, Learning for Life, is quite new. We've only been running for 2 years, but it's with our year 7 and 8 children. So that's ages 11 to 13. There's about 200 children who do the program with 16 teachers. We're very lucky. The class size is no more than 12. It's a real privilege. And it incorporates some statutory government courses on what we call PSHE, which is personal social health education. So some of these lessons are kind of, their main curriculum. We have 32, so we have one lesson a week, which is an hour and 20 minutes. Again, quite a good length of time. And so the topics I devise the curriculum and the topics over what's required, but also trying to incorporate the guidelines. So the lessons range from things like identity, friendship, family, living in a community, generosity, values, being healthy, listening, happiness, spiritual growth. Some lessons explicitly focus on a guideline like generosity, and others, the guidelines feature kind of in the lesson. The first thing that I realized was that the wisdom themes, how we think, act, relate to others, and find meaning, fit beautifully with the aims of the program. So that's a very simple but rich framework that kind of underpin the pedagogy, and I can keep referencing that. So this is, remember, this is how you think, how you act. So, and that's kind of repeated throughout. And as I said, we start with mindfulness, and I provide guides for the teachers and the children if they want to lead that. I regularly remind us of our sort of purpose, and I referencing research, linking to life skills. So with the mindfulness particularly, I remind the children, many of them are into sport or music or drama, and I say, you know, this is such a wonderful tool for you to take into your life, but also to use, you know, all the time when you have an exam or whatever you're doing. Like I said, the lessons, we have to cover content. So we are covering core content, but we're very inquiry based. That means there's a lot of dialogue, prompts, reflection, questions, and that requires facilitation to make sure everyone feels safe and that it's inclusive, and yeah, because it's a very, I think, a different kind of style of lesson. So we deliberately use the tools of the 16 guidelines. Also with, we use a lot of role models, scenarios like pre-framing and reframing. So giving scenarios to the children, either ones retrospectively that they may have experienced, or imagining a future situation and how the guidelines might help them with those. So moving on now, about some of the practicalities and the challenges. So as you can tell, this is an integrative approach, and I guess I'm quite directive in that the lessons are prepared for the teachers. So maybe in contrast to Maria Luisa and Adriana, I haven't had a lot of time to get colleagues on board and trained. And to be honest, in my context, it's not the right time to do that. So they're sort of provided with the lessons. So that's my role as coordinator. And again, some of the examples of what I do is I'm always looking for content that's relatable to teenagers. Again, what's going on in their world. So I use YouTubers, I use rappers, I use film clips, cartoons, things that they will kind of like part of their world that they will kind of enjoy. I'm mindful of equity and diversity and inclusion. That's really, really key in our school. It's our main priority. So I make sure that there are examples in all the resources that look like the children, and again, they're relatable. Some of the lessons are quite challenging and sensitive. So for example, we do topics on child exploitation. We do a lesson on FGM. And so I try to show, I mean, in terms of being compassionate towards the students, I feel that if they know what's happening, they're less anxious and gives them time to prepare. So I tell them in advance everything that we're going to do. And then the week before, I remind them, like, remember, next week, we're going to be doing this topic. And if anyone wants to talk about it, we can, you know. And then at the beginning of that lesson, there's also a reminder to be sensitive and kind to each other and to take care. And that's worked really well. And one of the signs of, I think, success is just the maturity and the quality of the discussions that we can have. So again, my approach with them, and again, going back to the why and being explicit, why are we doing this? I tell them that when you don't know about something or understand something, then that causes fear and anxiety. So we do a topic on child exploitation, for example, and we look at what, you know, what is it? Why does it happen? What can we do about it? I select examples, film clips and things very carefully so that they are appropriate to their age, but also we listen to people's stories, and they are intended to, in a way, to generate compassion, to deepen their understanding and the complexity of these issues. And I think that's also a big part of the engagement, and with the teaching team as well. Keep coming back to the why. That's kind of one of my sort of mantras. And the big why in the whole project is that this came from students. So we had a meeting several years ago about education. What's the purpose of education? And these fantastic teenagers said, we want more learning for life. So here we are. So I can say, look, this came from you and from your peers. Where possible, I link the guidelines and the what we're doing in the course to the school values and other subjects. So we study philosophy and history, and where I can, I make connections for them. And again, the why is that by being more with greater understanding, being more informed, they can be more compassionate people and more empowered to make changes. And I think this links to the guideline of sort of aspiration to have a sort of more meaningful life. So for me to kind of sustain the engagement and the motivation, I feel there is some work there to kind of keep people on board. And also for that reason, I try to provide really kind of professional looking, high quality resources, because I think there's a real risk to a program like this, that it's not regarded as important as maths or science, or, you know, it's not as relevant, it's not examined. But that's why I kind of try to keep something of the status quite high. And the last thing is that we also have a journal for reflection with question prompts and activity. So there is a little bit of reflective writing and drawing. So that's sort of one other aspect of the resources. A couple more points, and then we can do an activity taken from one of the lessons, if you like, something a little bit different. So again, sort of to sum up, I think coming back to the child, I always think that kind of emotional engagement with them, I always take a couple of minutes just to find out about them. And, you know, at the beginning of the year, do they find out about their circumstances, any particular needs they have? Just always try to get eye contact with every child, have a connection with every child, which, you know, it's not always easy to do that, but just to try and do that. And I approach the class as a community. So I say to them that we're like a team. It's that I want them to support each other, and this is a kind of team effort. We're looking at all these things together as a team. And my default position is to give them responsibility. So if something isn't working, if there's a bit of a strain, you know, I say to them, you know, what's something's not quite right. What is it? Tell me what's, and then ask them to suggest interventions or what changes we might need to make. We do quite a lot of work, as you can imagine, on body language. We sit in a circle about how to be inclusive and how to respond to each other as kindly. And I think authenticity is probably at the heart of everything, in the sense that I remember in one of the first lessons I had with a group of teenage girls, I said to them, so I said something like, I really care about you and I'm gonna, you know, and one of them kind of, like teenage girls do, she kind of went, she rolled her eyes. We get quite a lot of eye rolling. And I said, what? Talk to me. And she said, well, everyone says that, but some teachers just, she said, some teachers just pretend to like us. Some teachers just pretend that they care about us. And I said, okay, fair. That's a really good point. That's a fair point. And, you know, they're very aware. It's the feeling. So whatever you say to them, it's whether they feel it or not. It's the authenticity about how you are with them. So, again, I'm quite explicit with them and try to open things up with them as much as possible. I think every lesson, has a sort of ebb and flow. There are light moments where we laugh and I like to have a bit of fun, but there are times when and I say to them, where this is serious, you really need to listen now. We need your full attention. And I've tried to sort of develop things by getting meaningful feedback from them. And I've been working on that again, about getting them to be really honest. And sometimes I go back to them and I said, no, you're just saying what you think you should say. You're trying to sort of say all the right things. No, be really honest. So honesty again keeps coming back. And yeah, the best way that I've been able to get feedback is that they have discussion and then they feed that back to me in the way that they want to. So sometimes I'll write, you know, but I leave it quite open, but I feel that the discussion over things is the best way. So there you go. There's a few that comes sort of full circle back. And I started the year with introducing changes I've made based on the feedback. So again, like, I really have listened to you, and I have made these changes based on what you've said. So I will just, for a few minutes, we'll just do a little activity, something a bit different, on friendship. So we do 2 lessons on friendship because friendship is so important to adolescents. It's the key part of their lives and their big thing that they're trying to figure out. And this first lesson is on what makes a good friend, empathy, how to make friends, and peer pressure. And that leads on to a second lesson, which is, am I a good friend? Types of friendship challenges and boundaries. So I'm going to do, like I said, a little extract from that lesson, the kind of thing that we might do. And it's going to involve the chat function. So if anybody, hopefully you don't have to, but shortly we will use that. So you'll be able to share some of your ideas. So as with the previous activities, if you just sort of make sure that you're comfortable, and maybe take a nice long deep breath, just get some more oxygen to kind of wake us up a little bit. It's been a long time of listening. So we're thinking about friendships, and just for a few moments, you can either close your eyes or just look down. Think about a good friend that you've had, a friend that you're grateful for. Bring that friend to your mind. Think about them and think about what they're like. What is it about this person that makes them a good friend? Try to think of 3 words that come to mind. What is it about this person that makes them a good friend? What 3 qualities do they have? And then if you would like to, I'll invite you to put your 3 words into the chat, and we will see if there are any common themes about good friends, the 3 qualities that they have. Brilliant. We've already got some people quick off the mark. Quick consistency, honesty, generosity, loyalty, open, good listener, supportive, accepting. Wonderful. Wise, deep connection. Fantastic. Thank you. Accepting. Empathetic. Solidarity. Thank you. So we're not going to do the next part. I'll just tell you what I would have done next, and then we'll finish off in just a moment. So if you'd like to just close your eyes again or look down, just think about these wonderful qualities. Think about this friend. Think about how they make you feel. Think about how this friend makes you feel, the good feelings that you have. And as you sit with those good feelings that your friend gives you, just feel appreciation and gratitude for that friendship. And now think of how you can take those good feelings with you after this session. Extend those feelings to other people around you, to be a good friend to others. Okay, and when you're ready, you can just bring your attention back to where we are, and I will just tell you a few more things about sort of what I would have done next. Obviously, I wouldn't have used a chat function in this, but the idea would be to prompt, say, awareness. I want the children to be aware of friendships, to think and reflect about the choices they make. I use a lot of quotes with them as well as images and film clips, and I'll just see if anyone recognizes this quote. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to your enemies, but a great deal more to stand up to your friends. Does anyone recognize that? You can put it in chat if you recognize the film that comes from. See if anyone knows. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to your enemies, but a great deal more to stand up to your friends. No? No, it's Albus Dumbledore from Harry Potter. So quite often I find that the children, I give them a quote to respond to, what does it mean? Do you agree? A couple of others just to leave you with a few things to think about. True friends never leave you wondering whether you are friends or not. Best friends listen to what you don't say. In order to have friends, you must first be one. And you don't need a lot of friends, just the right ones. And some of those quotes we can have, you know, quite a rich, deep conversation about. And in the second lesson on challenges, we look at lots of different scenarios and about how they would respond to those. So that's just a little snippet, but a taster of kind of how the lessons work and the kind of thinking and inquiring that we do. And I think that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. I know everyone must be very tired, so thank you for hanging on in there.
Thank you, Lizzy. You wrapped up a really rich afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are, of conversation and sharing. And that's fantastic. I really, really rejoice that you're working in a mainstream school with so many students and teachers. Yeah, that's really good. And what did Wendy say? Wish she had this program. Yeah. That's a very good point, that hopefully those programs will somehow spread. And Andrew, I'm going to ask you, because I haven't seen any questions come up. I've seen lots of gratitude and thankfulness for what we're doing and how much people have appreciated it. But you know, I if I might throw out one question to at least Adriana and you, Lizzy. Have you used the wisdom themes themselves? Because I have a bit of a love affair with the wisdom themes, not as separate from the guidelines, but as a core structural connection to the guidelines. And I'm wondering if either of you have anything to share on how or in what ways you do use the 4 wisdom themes, if you do. Or why you don't if you don't. Who'd like to go first? Would you like to try, Adriana, since Lizzy's just been using her vocal cords a lot?
I was thinking about it. I think we use them more once we designed this course for new moms. When I was a new mom, actually, when I just had my first baby. And well, if you have kids, you know, it's like revolution. So we did a course for moms with the 16 guidelines. It was called Mamás con Actitud. And we did the wisdom themes, like I think there were 4 sessions and we focused on that, and we talked about the guidelines a little bit, but it was a lot about the themes. And I love the way you can see how they interconnect, how they relate to each other, how they go from the way we think, the way we find meaning in life, you know, how it's really logical. And I think it's very easy for everyone to see that. But I'm not using them at the moment with the students. So I think that was the time when I used them more. And it was very useful, and it was really good to hear from other moms. And, you know, we all had these questions about what to do in certain situations. So going back to what do we think about those situations, you know, how we think is really important to start thinking about what to do in this situation. So I think always going back to the way we think was very useful.
Thank you. Thanks. That's really helpful. Lizzy, have you got anything you'd like to add, please?
Yeah, like I said, in Learning for Life, I mean, I found, yes, the structure of the wisdom theme, just that is what we're doing. I think every lesson has that those 4 sort of aspects, and it's really interesting to trying to get the children to see the connection between, as Adriana said, between how they think, and then that we do quite a lot on values and identity, and but how they impact other people, you know, in their relationships with others. I use the image of a sort of the ripple effect, and it's quite interesting. Sometimes they're quite fascinated by this idea, and the idea that you can really change. You can have. I read someone the other week said, "You mean what? I impact others?" And I was like, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, there's a kind of like that's what's so great about working with teenagers. They're kind of like trying to figure out so much, but so just that, like I said, as a framework, and making the connections, like Adriana said, between the wisdom themes is just at the heart of everything we do, I think.
I'm curious, just one more question for you, Lizzy, and then do you actually emphasize how through mindfulness thinking, you know, you make that connection very clear, that how we think sort of is the basis and root of our experiences in life?
Yes, and that's where it can get quite challenging. And they're very interesting. And again, one of the joys is seeing them realize that other people sometimes think so differently. And that's where the dialogue is so important, where people have a space to say, but what about this? Or for them to watch clips of other people speaking who you know, see things in such a different way. And that's also tunes into the empathy and seeing things from different perspectives. There's a lot of figuring out, and you really need sometimes to support them with that, because it can be quite, they can feel a bit lost at times.
Thank you.
With the steps, step 4 is perception, like how my mind creates my reality, in a sense, like the things that I think, my values and expectations and judgments and all that goes on in my mind. It's like I'm a glass through which I see reality, and everybody has a different glass that comes from their experiences in lives. So I think it relates to the way with the wisdom theme in the 16 guidelines, and we talked a lot about that. It's the step before conflict resolution, so we need that. So when we sit at the table to talk about how I felt in this situation, how you felt, we remember that we all have a different way of seeing things, and we are trying to understand the other person as well, where that person's coming from. So that one's really important.
Thank you. Great. Wendy kindly sent us a question, and it's a good one too. She said that in each of the presentations there's been mention of creating a safe space for teachers, parents, and pupils, and she wonders if you might say more about creating a safe space for unsafe ideas. That's a very interesting question. Thank you, Wendy. So it's a little bit, I'm just reflecting for a moment while you guys think about that. It's a little bit, I think, Adriana, you just mentioned, and also you, Lizzy, that sometimes some of the ideas we're proposing might seem unsafe, or might make people feel a little delicate in how they're feeling about it, you know. So anything that you might share back to Wendy? Might you say more about creating a safe space, a safe for unsafe ideas? Now, I don't know. Creating a safe for unsafe ideas. I don't know if you meant, Wendy, to say space or not. But anyway, there you are. You might want to talk more about
Um,
addressing, I mean, it might be helpful to address any trauma that you might have come up in your, because I know there are people here from places in the world where traumatized children
mhm.
are going to be around. And even if maybe you don't experience that directly so much, it might be advice that you would give to people working with universal education in those kinds of cultures and countries where it is more challenging for young people and children, teenagers.
Yes. I can think of, well, like Lizzy said, I think remembering all the time, every day, at the beginning of every session or every class, like we all want to be happy, we all want to feel safe, we all want to be secure, and we all want to avoid suffering. Remember that. So this is a place in which we are going to try to do that for everyone, and we are going to respect each other. And I always say, like Lizzy, I always tell them, like, I know you are respectful people, you know, I know you can care for each other. Like, always remember, reminding them that they're good people, like we are all good people, you know, and we can see why it is important to speak kindly from the heart, to think about the situations, but not the people. Like, you know, it's not personal. You're not going to attack. If somebody says something that you don't agree with, you're not going to attack the person. You're going to discuss the topic. So it's not, and every time something like that happens, always like, remember, we're speaking from the heart. We are not, you know, we're trying to get somewhere, to find something in common. So I think for me, it's always reminding them that. And also at university, at least, I always tell them, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not that kind of person. I don't have that training. But so if they feel something deeper, or they need to talk about something that they don't want to talk in there is a psychology at university that would very gladly help them, and I can take them to her, or I can be with them if they want me to be there. Because sometimes I feel like I don't want to do more damage than what, you know, somebody is really feeling some trauma or going through something very difficult, and I don't want them to think like, oh yeah, it's nothing, you know, because, or something like that. I always try to be aware of that. Although I have had students coming to me and talking to me about, I don't know, the parents being divorced or something, and I always listen to them. I try to listen very deeply and being there. And at the end, I always say, thank you for sharing this with me, but are you sure you don't want us to go and, you know, find somebody who could help us even more? So I think that's what I do.
Great, thank you. That sounds very practical and useful. Lizzy, have you got any comments? Do you come across those kind of situations?
Yes, and probably the biggest source of support is the other students. And I didn't mention this, but I often use older students to come in and run some of the sessions, or to be part of the lesson. I'm very, very fortunate, and they're really incredible. And but I do think, I mean, I talked about trying to build this sense of community, the classroom as a community. And like I said, sitting in a circle is very powerful. We do a lot of work on body language and a lot of role play. So when we talk about listening, we do actually sort of very explicit, like, what does it mean to be a good listener? And then we do some activities, and we do a kind of like bad listening where they have to kind of yawn and, you know, look, and they love doing that kind of thing. And then we talk about, anyway, so the listening is key. But the times I can think of when a child has got upset, another child leapt to their aid. and I've been very moved by that, their responses to each other. But also at the end of every lesson, and particularly some of the challenging ones, we talk about support networks. So child exploitation, the example I gave, the last slide is, these are the organizations, the people you can go to if you want to find out more, if you need to talk to somebody. So we talk about people they can talk to in the school after the lesson. Sometimes I communicate with their house parent to tell them that we've covered a particular topic. So there is a little bit more infrastructure around the lesson, but in the lesson itself, ultimately it comes to the feeling. Like I said, that so they have to feel, and they will feel safe if you can, there's so many ways that you can try to get that feeling, but that community building, like I said, being very explicit about body language, how we are kind to each other, how to respond to people. And sometimes I have to pick, I have to say to somebody, no, there are times, of course, when you have to hold boundaries and just say, and you might have to talk to somebody a little bit afterwards. I'm not saying that every lesson is this sort of wonderful. I mean, yeah, we have tricky times and tricky moments, but yeah, I don't know if that's answered the question very well, but yeah.
That's good. You're speaking from your experience, and that's always really a useful place to come from. Do either of you have anything that you feel like you haven't touched on that you would like to share with others? Because I have actually got here a point, Lizzy, that we discussed when we met quite a while ago now, and I wonder if it's still in your mind, or in the back of your mind, and it's about gathering feedback and measuring the impact, in a stringent scientific way with methodologies. And I know it's often been quite a challenge for organizations, including FDCW, as far as I remember way back when I was in that role of trying to get that organized. Have you got any comments or thoughts on that? Because I think it's something that's always relevant to a program, especially a new program that we're rolling out or developing. I mean, all three of you I hear are doing creative things in your programs. So I wonder if there's any strategies or ways that you have come up to really measure your effect, so that others and other organizations, schools might be more interested in taking on these programs. Either of you want to give it a go?
When I started at the university I'm working at right now, this semester they wanted every new student to have something related to what we're doing, and the proposal is that everyone has half an hour. We have half an hour with each student, with a group, a week of a little talk, really very little, because it's only half an hour, and a meditation related to the topic. So at the beginning I wanted to do some kind of survey at the beginning to see how students were arriving, and then I wanted to do something in the middle and at the end to see if it was working. So I planned the whole survey, and when I went to the person in charge, I said, I want to do this, and they were like, oh yeah, but it has to go through all these other people. They have to see the survey, see if it's so many steps that it was impossible to do before the starting of this semester. So I'm planning on doing it for next semester with the new students, right? Because I wasn't able to do it this time because it has to go through so many processes. I don't know, for this institution in particular, but they really want to do that too. So I hope we'll do it next semester, because I think it's also very important for the students to see, like, if they answer certain questions about how they're feeling, and then they can see if this is helping or not, you know, whatever the result is. And I think it is. But if they see it for themselves, they can also share it with others. And so it goes on and on, like, okay, this is a good idea, you should do it, you should take it. And so I'm not doing it at the moment, but I want to do it next semester. Yes.
Let us know how it goes, because it's always useful to have techniques and methods for doing that. Lizzy, a couple of minutes left. Would you like to give us a quick input on you?
Yeah, this is quite often in my mind. I mean, there are kind of well-known issues with the self-evaluation. One is that if you do a program that is about making people more self-aware and reflective, your success criteria is almost certainly going to go down, because everyone starts off thinking, oh yeah, I know what friendship is. And then you do the lesson and they're like, oh, actually now, you know. So there is a kind of, that's a known thing. And there's also an issue about bias, that I said, children being, again, back to honesty, you know, whether they're trying to please teacher, or bias in the questions that we ask. So for me right now, and where we are with the program, what I really want to know is what's working. So I have a live document for the teachers to feed back to me about lessons that have gone well or not, or, you know, things that could be tweaked. And I try to get really meaningful feedback from the kids about what they've enjoyed, what's working for them. If somebody wanted to come in and do a sort of, it'd be fantastic if we could get that kind of data on the program. But yeah, it's not, I don't think it's worth, like Adriana said, it's a huge amount of time. It's a bit soul destroying sometimes to do that kind of before and after comparative stuff. If you're going to do it, it has to be done by someone external, I think, and in a very careful way that's going to be really sort of truthful and useful. So that I'm just doing right now what's most relevant to what we're doing, if that makes sense. And it is very positive. I mean, I have lots of, which is great, I think, but more meaningful feedback from the kids particularly.
Thank you. Yeah, that's yeah, of course, if you've got some wonderful university who's keen to evaluate what you're doing, that's a nice dream situation.
Yeah, I just found out there's an expert at the university, like her master's degree is on measuring programs and things. So I went to her and said, I want to do this for next year. So she's going to help, because like Lizzy said, it has to be done in a certain way for it to give you some kind of understanding of what's going on. Yeah.
Thank you guys. So much to think about, so much to rejoice about, and so much gratitude to all the folks around the world. It's really brought home to us how much energy and how much motivation and dedication has gone into unrolling what, you know, we delivered the basic courses, and then so many people just take off and do amazing things around the world. And if it's okay with everyone, as we always do in universal education, we end with a dedication. And I really think that all our caring and love could go into a dedication to the people in Palestine and Israel, and in Afghanistan too, with the dreadful earthquake, that all those who are suffering, are fearful, displaced, and traumatized may be healed, and may whatever difficulties they are now meeting, may they be short-lived and resolved in a positive and peaceful way.